Awareness is the beginning of all transformation. Before anything in your life can shift, whether it's your health, your relationships, your finances, or your peace of mind, something inside you must wake up. And what is that something? It is the awareness of who you truly are. Not the version of you the world taught you to be. Not the personality shaped by your past, your pain, or your circumstances. But the you that is, the you that observes, the you that chooses. This awareness is not intellectual. It is not something you read in a book and memorize. It is a felt experience. A deep, quiet knowing that I am. Before I am anything else. Not I am sad or I am broke or I am stuck. Just I am. That is the purest truth you will ever know. And from this sacred I am, all things take shape. When I began to understand this, everything changed. I stopped reacting blindly to my environment. I stopped letting circumstances dictate my state of being. Instead, I started watching my thoughts, my reactions, my assumptions, not judging them, just observing them. Because in that moment of observation, I realized I am not the thought. I am not the fear. I am not the worry. I am the one watching. And that watcher, that still silent presence, holds the key to everything. You see, most people live in a loop. They wake up in the same mood, think the same thoughts, feel the same emotions, take the same actions, and call it reality. But what they don't realize is that they are hypnotized by the outer world. They think life is happening as to them, but really it's happening through them. The world is not the cause, it is the effect. The cause is always consciousness. The cause is always what you are aware of being. So when I say I relax and trust the universe, I don't mean I throw up my hands and hope for the best. I mean I return to awareness. I come back to the stillness beneath the noise. I rest in the truth that I am the one who assigns meaning. I am the one who gives power. And if I can become aware of being secure, loved, whole, then that is what the world will echo back to me. Think about it. You can't experience anything that you are not first aware of being. You can't live a life of peace if you're not first aware of what it feels like to be peaceful. You can't receive love if you're not first aware of being lovable. So the real work, the deep, spiritual work, is not about chasing results. It's about shifting your awareness. That's why I no longer panic when things seem slow or uncertain. I simply ask myself, what am I aware of being right now? If I don't like the answer, I don't force the outside to change. I go within. I breathe. I choose again. Because the moment I become aware of being something new, truly aware, not just mentally, but emotionally, physically, spiritually, the world begins to reflect it. Not always instantly, but inevitably. People say, I'll believe it when I see it. But I say, you'll see it when you become aware of it. That's the secret. Awareness is the cause. The rest is the echo. So I invite you now to pause, to turn inward, to let go of the noise and just as a be. Not to solve anything, not to fix yourself, but to remember. Remember who you are beneath the labels, beneath the masks, beneath the fear. You are not the storm. You are the sky. You are not the thought. You are the awareness behind it. And when you return to that awareness over and over again, you will begin to relax. Not because the world is perfect, but because you know who you are. And once you know that, you can trust the universe. Because you are the universe, aware of itself. Assumption is the unseen power behind every visible change in your life. You may not realize it, but every moment of your day, you are assuming something about yourself, about others, about the world. And those assumptions are silently, steadily forming the life you live. Not because life is random or because you're lucky or unlucky, but because assumption is not just passive thought, it is creative force. It is the seed from which your reality grows. I didn't always understand this. I used to think things just happened. That life was a mix of fate, chance, and hard work. But as I began to look closer, something inside me started to shift. I noticed that before anything appeared in my world, there was a subtle moment, a quiet, invisible choice, where I assumed something to be true. I didn't declare it out loud. I didn't write it on paper. I simply accepted it. I accepted it as reality, and then I moved forward as though it were done. And sure enough, my world moved with me. That is what assumption does. It sets the tone, the mood, the direction of your life. Assume you're unwanted, and you'll see evidence of rejection in every glance, every silence. Assume you're lucky, and you'll be met with surprises and synchronicities everywhere you go. Assume your desire is impossible, and the world will fold itself to prove you right. But assume it's already yours, and the doors will open without you forcing them. The world doesn't care about what you want. It responds to what you errors assume. And here's the secret most people miss: assumption doesn't need proof. It doesn't wait for signs. It doesn't ask for permission. It chooses boldly, silently, within. When I assume something, I don't look for evidence. I don't scan the world to see if it's working. I become still. I enter the state of the wish fulfilled, and I live from it. Not toward it. From it. I don't hope it will come. I know it already has. Even if nothing outside me has changed, I hold that inner knowing with calm, sacred conviction. Because the moment I assume it, the universe begins to align. People often ask, how do I make it happen? And my answer is simple: assume it's already done. Not because you're pretending, but because deep down you realize that reality is not fixed. It is flexible. It is fluid. It bends to the movement of your consciousness. So if you want change, don't force the outer world. Shift the assumption within. It may feel unnatural at first. You might think, but how can I believe in something I don't see yet? And I say, that's the very point. Assumption precedes evidence. It is not rooted in what you've seen, but in what you've chosen to feel real. That's why it's so powerful. Because when you assume something deeply, consistently, with feeling, you collapse the distance between you and it. It stops being a future possibility and becomes a present identity. This isn't about lying to yourself. It's about seeing deeper, seeing with the eyes of the spirit, not just the body. It's about claiming your power, the power to define your world not based on what has been, but on what you decide it will be. So now, when I desire something, I don't ask, how will this happen? I simply step into the state of having it. I assume it as natural, as obvious, as already mine. And then I go on with my day, relaxed, grateful still. Because I know that assumption is not passive. It is a seed that carries its own momentum. I don't have to push the river. I just have to let it flow. Assumption, when held with faith and feeling, becomes fact. It's not if, it's when. So I ask you, what are you assuming about your life right now? About your worth, your future, your power. Whatever it is, you will live it. Because assumption is creation. There's a peace that comes when you realize the end is already done. It's not the kind of peace that relies on things going your way. It's not the comfort of certainty from the outside world. It's something deeper, something sacred. A quiet knowing that what you've imagined, what you've accepted in your heart, is already complete. You don't need to force it. You don't need to chase it. You simply need to rest in it. When I truly understood this, it changed the way I moved through life. I stopped acting like I was trying to make something happen, and I began living as though it already had. Not because I was faking it, but because deep inside, I had already arrived. And when you've arrived in your spirit, the world can't help but catch up. You see, the world wants you to believe that life is linear, that you must wait, strive, earn, suffer, and hope. But consciousness doesn't move that way. Consciousness is instant. It doesn't move in time. It creates time. So when I enter a state of being where my desire is already fulfilled, that state begins to pull my reality into alignment. I'm not waiting anymore. I'm dwelling. I'm inhabiting the version of myself where it's already true. This isn't about pretending. This is about stepping out of doubt and into the end. It means closing your eyes, quieting your mind, and accepting, with full trust, that what you desire has already taken shape in the unseen. You may not see it yet with your eyes, but in the world of imagination, which is the real world, it is done. And once it's done there, it must unfold here. I don't stress over how it will unfold. I don't wake up every day asking, when will it come? That's a question rooted in the assumption that it's not here. But when I've truly entered the end, when I've felt the relief, the joy, the certainty, I don't need to question. I've touched the truth, and that's enough. That's why now, when I imagine something, I don't treat it as a request. I treat it as a memory. I feel the scene, not like I'm creating it for the first time, but as if I'm remembering it, as if it already happened. And something powerful happens when you do this. Your whole body begins to respond. Your nervous system relaxes. Your emotions shift. Your posture changes. Because you're no longer identifying with the version of you that lacks. You're living from the version of you that has. This is the secret to trust. Not blind hope, but a deep recognition that the end is finished. You're not trying to force life to catch up. You're simply allowing yourself to rest in what you've already chosen. That's why I walk through my days differently now. I don't hustle with desperation. I don't overthink the timing. I live like someone who knows. I carry the tone of fulfillment even in silence. I don't need to prove anything to anyone, not even myself. Sometimes people say, but I don't feel like it's done. And I understand. The world teaches us to wait for evidence. But this journey is about becoming the evidence. It's about choosing to feel the end before you see it, not because you're ignoring reality, but because you're shaping it. When you say, it is done, and mean it, you're setting a new pattern in motion. You're stepping into the higher version of yourself who already received it. And from that state, your actions flow differently, your energy radiates differently, and life begins to respond. You don't need to chase. You don't need to control. You need only to return to the end again and again until it becomes natural, until it becomes who you are. So I live there now. In the end, I feel the joy ahead of time. I feel the ease ahead of time. And in that feeling, I relax because I know it's already done. Letting go of the how was the most liberating thing I ever learned. For so long, I thought I had to figure it all out. Every detail, every path, every person who would help, every step that would take me from where I was to where I wanted to be. I obsessed over the how. I planned, I worried, I overthought. And the more I tried to control it, the more exhausted I became. The truth is, the how was never mine to manage. My only job was to decide the end and live from it. The rest belongs to something greater, something that knows far more than I ever could. At first, letting go felt unnatural. I was used to being in control, or at least trying to be. But control is an illusion. It's a habit built on fear, not faith. When I looked closely, I realized my need to control the how came from a belief that maybe, just maybe, the thing I wanted wouldn't happen unless I forced it. That belief kept me anxious, small, and tired. I was acting like I had to do the universe's job, like I had to arrange all the moving pieces, like I had to make people play roles they didn't even know they were cast in. But that's not creation. That's struggle. Then everything changed when I stopped asking, how will it happen? And started saying, it is already done. I imagined what I wanted as if it were real now. I felt the relief, the joy, the ease of already having it. I stepped into that state and rested there. And I watched, sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once, as people, opportunities, and timing flowed in ways I never could have predicted. Things began showing up, not because I figured them out, but because I let them come. You see, the how is the business of the unseen. It's the work of the universe, the divine intelligence, the subconscious mind, whatever name you give it. And it is far more precise, far more powerful than your conscious effort ever could be. When you try to control how something happens, you limit the possibilities. You become so focused on your one small version of the path that you miss the infinite ways your desire could unfold. But when you let go of the how, you open space for something bigger than your logic to take over. This doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you do the right things from the right state. You move with inspiration, not with desperation. You take action, but it's not forced. It's natural, flowing, obvious. It rises from your state of already having, not your fear of not getting. There's a huge difference. When I let go of the how, I also let go of the pressure. I stopped measuring my progress every 5 minutes. I stopped second guessing whether it was working. Instead, I reminded myself, it's already mine. I don't need to know how. I only need to trust that the way will be shown. And sure enough, the right people started calling. The right words started coming. The right doors began to open, some of which I didn't even know existed. Letting go of the how is not passive. It's a bold, active trust. It says, I don't need to chase. I don't need to struggle. I don't need to beg. I already received it in my imagination. I've already accepted it as done. And now, I'll rest in that knowing until it shows itself. That kind of trust is magnetic. It draws to you what belongs to you, not because you demanded it, but because you aligned with it. So now, I don't waste time asking how it will come. I focus only on what I want and who I become as I feel it already here. The how takes care of itself. The universe knows. The pattern is set. The cause is planted. All I do is let go and let it unfold. Feel it now, not tomorrow, not when it shows up, not when things finally change. Now this is the key that unlocks every door. Most people wait to feel the way they want to feel. They wait for the result before they allow themselves the joy, the love, the confidence, the freedom. But that's not how creation works. If you wait to feel it, you're already late. Reality doesn't create your feeling creates your reality. When I realized this, everything became clear. I saw how much of my life I had spent reacting to what was instead of creating from within. I would wake up and check my bank account, or read a message, or remember something from my past, and then I'd decide how I felt. I thought that was normal, but it was just habit. And habit isn't truth. The truth is, I was giving away my power every time I let the outer world determine my inner state. So I made a decision. I would no longer wait. I would feel it now. I stopped chasing feelings in the future and began living from the feeling of the wish fulfilled, right here, right now. I'd ask myself, how would I feel if it were already true? And then I'd step into that feeling like it was a warm coat on a cold day. I wouldn't just think about it. I'd breathe it, wear it, become it. I wouldn't do it for 5 minutes and then return to worry. I'd live there. I'd move through my day from that place, as if the thing I desired had already arrived, and something miraculous began to happen. The world around me started to shift. Not always instantly, not always how I expected, but undeniably. People treated me differently. New paths opened up. My energy changed, and so did my results. Because I wasn't living from lack anymore. I wasn't reaching. I was radiating. You see, feeling it now is not about pretending. It's not about faking or forcing anything. It's about aligning. It's about tuning into the version of you that already exists. The version that's already living the life you want. And borrowing their energy, borrow their confidence, borrow their gratitude, borrow their ease. It's already within you. You're just learning to access it ahead of time. Some people say, but how can I feel wealthy if I'm broke? How can I feel loved if I'm alone? How can I feel healthy when I'm in pain? And I get it. It's not always easy. But it's not about ignoring your current situation. It's about rising above it. Not in denial, but in dominion. Your current facts do not define your final outcome. The facts can change. They do change. But only after the feeling comes first. That's why I return again and again to the feeling of the end. I close my eyes. I quiet the world. I drop into that space where it's already true. I hear the words I want to hear. I see the results I want to see. I walk as if it's done. Because in the inner world, the only place that truly matters, it is done. And the outer world, that's just the echo. It will follow. Feeling it now is how I trust. It's how I rest. It's how I manifest. I don't wait for proof. I become the proof. I don't wait for a reason to feel good. I choose to feel good, and that becomes the reason. So if you're waiting for life to change before you feel better, stop. Feel better and life will change. Not because you pushed, not because you hustled, but because you aligned. Because you dared to feel the end before it arrived. Because you lived the vibration of your future now. The moment I learned to let go and allow things to unfold, everything began to soften. Not because life suddenly became perfect, but because I stopped trying to control every moment, every person, every outcome. I stopped chasing. I stopped clenching my desires with fear. I stopped standing in the way of the very things I wanted to receive. Letting go isn't giving up. It's giving into a higher rhythm, a wiser timing, a deeper trust. It's the space where miracles finally have room to move. You see, we often block what we want by holding on too tightly. We want love, but we grip it with desperation. We want success, but we tie it to timelines and conditions. We want peace, but we demand it come in a certain form by a certain day. That energy, that tightness, that control, pushes the very thing we want further away. The universe responds not to the begging, but to the allowing, not to the tension, but to the trust. The more I tried to force it, the more I delayed it. But the moment I truly released it, it began to flow. I used to think surrender meant weakness. I thought if I let go, nothing would happen. I feared that if I wasn't constantly doing, thinking, fixing, striving, life would leave me behind. But it's the opposite. When you let go, you step into flow. You become receptive. You open your hands instead of closing your fists. And in that openness, life can finally deliver what was already on its way. There's a kind of quiet power in surrender. Not the kind that shouts or proves itself, but the kind that says, I've done my part. I've imagined. I've believed. I've felt it real. Now I will rest in that knowing and let it come in the best way possible. That's when you stop wrestling with time. You stop fighting the silence. You stop needing constant signs. Because you know it's already in motion. You know it's unfolding even when you can't see it. I no longer panic when things seem delayed. I don't spiral when the outer world doesn't move fast enough. I return to the quiet knowing within me, and I remind myself, it's done. It's just not visible yet. Like a seed beneath the soil, just because I can't see it doesn't mean it's not growing. So I water it with faith. I give it light through gratitude. And I stop digging it up with doubt. Allowing things to unfold doesn't mean you do nothing. It means you do the right things from the right state. You still take action, but it's inspired. It comes from joy, not fear. It flows naturally, not forcefully. You trust the rhythm of your own becoming. You move with life, not against it. And when doubts arise, because they will, I don't fight them. I don't panic. I breathe. I soften. I remind myself of all the things that came when I finally stopped trying so hard. All the times the universe worked it out better than I ever could have planned. I remember the wisdom of waiting, the beauty of timing, the perfection of the unseen hand guiding it all. Now I live in a space of quiet trust. I imagine the life I want. I feel it. I believe it. And then I let it go, not because I don't care, but because I care enough to let it breathe. I let the universe do what it does best: organize, orchestrate, align. I allow life to unfold, not in my timing, but in divine timing. And I've come to see that timing is always right. So I no longer hold on with fear. I hold loosely, gently, with faith. I release the outcome. I stop measuring the distance. I stop needing control. I allow. I trust. I rest.